All right, I'd like to call to order the policy committee meeting, January 4th. Knowing that all board members are here, as well as Randy, Tim, and Amy. I don't believe I had any public comments. Nope.
But we do need to.
But we do need to approve the agenda, so
So moved. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
First attachment, like we've been doing, we have kind of the outline of the ones that we're going to be looking at to review, and there's a handful of policies here, and I think I'll turn it over to Randy.
Yeah, sounds good. So the first one we're going to look at is 345.3, which is the homework policy. Our recommendation as we've reviewed this one is to actually repeal this policy. Because it's something that we feel that we are reflecting in our handbooks that also come to the board on an annual basis. And we just didn't feel that this is one that needed to be a specific board policy. This language in this format, and in some cases, since the modified format is already reflected within our handbook language, and we'd recommend that that's where it reside. That if there are any changes to it, that would be a place that we could make adaptations, and then all those changes have to come to the board anyway, but we don't feel it needs to be part of policy.
And I think one of the things I kind of mentioned, if we do something like that, or we're saying it's in our handbooks or something, somehow reference that, like it's repealed, and then.
Sure.
I mean, it won't show up in here anymore, but it's like it's replaced, and then at least you can refer to this place of the. Instead of just generally saying it's in the handbook, maybe.
Sure.
Do you feel
Yeah,
that's
that's a good one,
important?
yeah.
Or-
You mean in the policy materials?
Well, we're gonna repeal it, and I don't know if we have some kind of outline for this, but given, say it's in the policy or it's in our handbooks that specifically say it's on pages, whatever, it's included in this portion of the handbook. That's just.
And
what
that
your
it
thoughts
gets
on
changed
something like
every
that.
year, so when you see the handbooks come through, they get paginated, and then they'll see kind of where it is in the index.
Unless you don't. feel
But,
something like that.
but I'm just thinking, if it used to be in policy and now it's not, where would you see a reference that it's gone to? Handbook, I mean, it's just like,
You probably won't.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, it'll just be gone from the policy piece, but it will be in the handbooks. That
Right.
will be, and that's probably the best place for that to be
I
reflected.
think so too. Okay, no,
So I mean, it'll definitely be part of the handbook, and then the index of the handbook, that'll be one of the sections, and that will be on the hardback.
so when we review the handbooks.
Yeah.
We don't read the handbooks unless there's something that happens that is a controversy that we bring it up. Is that everybody
think-
comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think what we do is we bring the whole handbook forward, and we'll have a cover letter with any changes. So you'll get to see the whole handbook on an annual basis.
Yeah.
And I think what we've had from feedback from the board is, since we see these annually, if there's any changes, then just articulate those in kind of our memo. So that's what we've been doing, but you do receive the full handbook, and you just you kind of focus in on the main changes versus other things.
And because I was saying, we approve the handbooks annually, but we really don't know for sure what's in there except like changes. And if there was a controversy that came up, then we would pay attention to something.
And
Sure.
you'd probably be more astute to it, but yeah, we do include the whole handbook for the board in that packet. So if
Yeah.
you want to read the whole thing, if you're interested in it, it is there. And these are all posted up online too.
Yeah,
So
so
everyone
everybody,
has a different. handbook,
I
right?
think we have,
Case 6 has one altogether.
Oh.
Okay.
yep, so case 6, I think, and that's a change over the last several years. We used to have a little bit more of them, and then 7-12 is middle school and high school.
Right, they have separate handbooks.
Okay.
And to be clear, there are components of the handbook that are policies that we want to keep in policy, but just,
Yeah.
as our WASB attorney noted, most districts don't put this in policy. And when we looked at some of our peer districts, there's like one who had a standalone homework policy.
yeah.
So motion to repeal the homework policy 245.3.
Second,
0.3.
second.
All through, or all in favor? Aye. Next.
Next one is promotion and retention of students. This one, as we reviewed it, we want to keep the existing policy and what's titled Exhibit 1, but we're going to repeal exhibits 2 through 5. Those are generally pieces that I think are remnants of some things of the past and some past practices. And really the pieces that are most pertinent are with regards to that first exhibit. The other items are things that were required as we had per state law when we had remnants of like high school graduation tests and some of those things, and it was modified over time. But we feel that the promotion or retention policy that we currently have best reflects what we want to do. And the exhibit 1 is the one that we would maintain, and the other ones we would remove. Some of those are just forms, so they're not things that we necessarily are needing to have in policy aspects of it. And our expectation when we look at the promotion and retention pieces are really articulated best, particularly in that exhibit 1 and the timeline pieces, and it talks about who needs to be involved in those decisions. That would be our recommendation. So the actionable piece here would be to repeal the exhibits 2 through 5 and then maintain the existing policy in exhibit 1.
And I think that made sense to have the forms, taken out of that.
Those are things that I'm sure as we kind of go over time and modify them occasionally so that I don't think it needs to be there. The biggest piece for me is making sure we have the timelines and the process of who's going to be involved. And Ted asked a question with regards to retention and how it changes to this policy or that this policy be perceived. I would say particularly at the elementary level, and Amy, from your perspective too, is I think this policy comes up and is part of a discussion more from parents wanting a child retained than from a teacher wanting a child retained. So sometimes it's just a matter, particularly at the younger grades, somebody feeling like either immaturity, size, or some other reason that they may feel like they don't want to move their child forward. And we want to make sure we do a full analysis of it before we make any decisions there. So I would say from my experience, most of them come from that direction versus the teacher retaining. And once we get to high school, it's really all credit driven.
I move that we keep the existing policy and repeal the exhibits.
Second,
Other than 1,
Yeah.
leave it to the 1.
Mhm.
All in favor?
I,
And the next one is acceleration.
The next one is acceleration. It does include a sample policy. What we're recommending is that we actually keep the one that we currently have in place and just maintaining that. Because we've reviewed it, we thought that best fit our requirements. So there's really no action needed here. We're just recommending, as part of an FYI to you, that we're retaining and keeping that policy. Okay. Good.
High school graduation requirements.
Yeah, the high school graduation requirements. This is one that we are going to recommend. We adopt the PRG. It has done some things where it's incorporated some pieces in there that we had in our old policy, and it's probably used some more current language with regards to that. It's also dealt with things like the early graduation that we'll deal with later on that we're going to repeal. It's just incorporated that within here. The one change that we have is on page 3. Is we added in there. It's actually on page 2 and 3. We have requirements for graduation. We have a quarter credit of health education. You can see that we crossed out the 0.5. State law requires 0.5. We get the other 0.25 as articulated on page 3 through our middle school health program. So the combination of the middle school health program and the high school health program create that 0.5 credits, which is allowable by state law. The second piece that we have in there is the career workshop, which is the 0.25 credits. So
is it Waunakee's policy to allow other activities to stand in for FIAD?
which one, where are you?
Well,
looking
I'm looking at, I'm just in general, if somebody. They were a dance club, not a dance club, but could they substitute some of their activities outside of school for FIAD? Any exceptions to that, other than IEPs, I suppose?
Yeah, the only exceptions would have to be as part of a student's individualized plan, 504 plan, something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, that was a conversation we had several years ago, because I believe there was state law that allowed you to do things if you were in sports or other things. And one of the things that we, after much iteration, was to maintain that you can't substitute those, because there's other things you learn within those lifelong skills type things, as opposed to just learning a specific sport. So-
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
So other than that, that was our only change that we had to the policy, was just updating it with regards to that. Otherwise, I think it flows very well with regards to what's required and what our local requirements are.
Motion to adopt the PRG no rule.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next. Next one is the graduation ceremony honors. I think the piece that we have here is the PRG does not have a recommendation on this, but we are recommending we keep our current policy with a few modifications. First of all, just articulating the Laude chords in the first part of that policy, because we do allow the purple, silver, and white Laude chords as they're recognized through the high school. We also, and this is pretty standard amongst most high schools, just articulating again that no other third-party chords or stoles or other items may be worn during the graduation ceremony. That way, these are all articulated of what are the honors you received from this institution, and articulates that in the program. So that's a piece that usually comes up every year, particularly as you have kids that are wearing other things that aren't granted by the school. I guess the one part, Tim, as I'm reading this, is did we account for like the National Honor Society?
It's the same thing.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, and
How
then
do you
the
mean
other
it's the
piece,
same thing? What do you mean it's the same thing?
So these are all third, I mean, we would count the honor society as a third party for it.
but we give that out.
What's the goal?
We give it out.
Word is that for?
They wear
That's the one thing, as I'm just reading this, was right now we
No,
have,
so what? I'm gonna have to pull that up.
I'm just, when my kids went through, they had we had the Laude cord, then they also had the gold cord, and then they also had, I thought that if you were in, there was a silver one for National Honor Society that they allowed them to wear.
Hang on.
It's on the screen, towards that. No, it's-
Right, so I would actually want to go back. I think there's an overlap between the two. I don't think it comes from that, Randy, but I would need to, I mean, if you want to put a pause on this, I can check with Brian and bring that back,
Let's just approve it right now with the amount, and we'll check on it.
and I'll have that for Monday night with Brian.
Yeah, but that's when I just read this. No, that was the one thing that jumped out.
I don't think those are those chords. I think students in honor society qualify for the chord, but it's an overlap, not a direct correlation. But I'll have to check with Brian.
If we can just check on that was one, and
So we're checking to see if we wear it or not.
right.
I'll have, Brian and I will have updated information
Yeah.
for you Monday night.
My recommendation was, if you're comfortable with it, to approve it with us checking on a couple other.
I want to be clear, there's nothing in this policy that changes our practice at all. This is just recognizing the fact that the policy had not been updated since we instituted Laude. So really nothing, functionally, this doesn't change, this is housekeeping, but to your question, Ted, I'll make sure Brian or I can address that Monday.
Yeah, let's address that. That'd be my question. I didn't think of that till we were sitting here.
So we're not voting on this.
You can vote on it, I think, and just with information coming from us on Monday night
Okay. so
regarding.
Then I propose we accept the graduation honor recognition as stated with
This.
clarification on National Honor Society.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then our last one here, relatively judiciously, is high school graduation was actually incorporated in the last policy we just approved, or in the high school graduation requirements policy. So our recommendation is we can repeal this for 345.8 because it's already included in 345.6.
Motion to repeal.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Comes to the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I did list all the future meetings. I don't know if you guys wanted to make any changes on that.
we're not
So,
doing curricular. Don't we have another?
yeah,
So these are the ones that we,
January 19th, but we'll be at the state.
yeah, so you're looking to change that to the 26th.
Yeah. So basically, January 26th is that. Curriculum people, does that give us enough time, you think?
I won't be able to do the 26th.
What we could do is just skip the January
Yeah.
one and come to the February one and hopefully we'll get our
I don't think so.
process
Yeah,
going and let's get a few more
Yeah.
policies. Let's just do that.
Are you good with February 16th, April 13th, May 18th, and June 15th as of right now? I mean, we can always make changes, but. We can
I'll be
get-
gone on the 13th of April.
So are you gone that week or are you gone?
I'm gone for that week and the week after, so I could do it a week earlier, 6th.
Does that work?
You know,
Does that work? for you?
That works.
Yep, why don't we move that one to April 6th? That'd be good.
Are you gonna be here for the meeting on the 10th?
Yes,
Okay.
All right, so we'll cancel January, we'll move April 13th to April 5th.
So
and the March 30th was still good.
We have one more.
no, we don't have a hard one.
We don't have a March one?
We have a March 16th. Yeah, did I not? I
Yeah,
must
that
have not, I must have
that's-
skipped March.
I must have had.
So March 16th, are you guys good with March 16th?
What time?
It would be like our,
Like 11:30?
and what, well,
We've been doing.
we've
them at
been doing the
7:30
7:30 timeframes,
Morning.
and that's what we needed to ask about. We didn't. So I was,
Is that too early in the
The
morning?
16th, I haven't put it early that day, so.
So we've been figuring it out. I mean, normally I'd like it early, but
I would too, but I'm pretty flexible.
I should be able to meet by 9.
On the March 16th?
Yeah,
fine.
It's okay. Yep,
or 9:30, can we?
well,
That's
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Make it work.
and then would 7:30 for the other days work? So that would be February 16th, April 6th, May 18th, June 15th. Yeah, they should.
Policy, okay.
Wow. Where does June 15th fall?
So,
June
is
15th.
that our retreat?
I'm not
And-
sure.
And the other thing is, we're gonna have a different committee by then too, so we might just want to stop at May.
This stop at May will reconfigure.
Okay,
Sounds good.
All right, so I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
So Ted, you need to let Jack know
Oh,
that
we need
you
to
were
do
able to
this.
get your committee done in 21 minutes
What did he take?
longer.
That was the budget.